am. And repeat after me. I, Ayanna Pressley,
I, Ayanna Pressley,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
that I will well and faithfully
that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of the office on which I am about to enter.
on the office of which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me, God.
Congratulations.
Sister girl. It is my distinct honor to introduce the person who has brought us here today, who has lifted our voices. I know she has lifted mine, who has renewed our faith and inspired us all to bring our own chair. The Congresswoman for the 7th Congressional District, Ayanna Pressley.
Glorious sight to behold, the manifestation of millions of steps and a million more prayers. I am so grateful to be here with all of you today, to my family, to my fellow elected officials, to my dedicated A-team, and most importantly, to the residents of the 7th Congressional District. Thank you for making this moment today possible. I come here today not to offer celebratory remarks. As you recall, on November 6th, I said I was not there to deliver a victory speech, and would not until we have realized equity, equality, and justice. So I did not come here today to offer celebratory remarks, but simply remarks of vision. Vision for our district, for our communities, and for our country. We find ourselves in unprecedented times. Each day we are met with a deluge of hateful rhetoric and even more hateful policies, meant to divide us and to make us feel small. But together, we are powerful. Yes, these are unprecedented and uncertain times. Unprecedented times which demand unprecedented leadership, unprecedented organizing, unprecedented mobilizing, unprecedented legislating, and unprecedented hope. There are many in their shallow analysis who have characterized our electoral victory as a referendum against hate. Our victory was a mandate for hope. And with you, I intend to keep it. Together, we are powerful. And so it is together in the community, in the 7th Congressional District, here today in Roxbury, Massachusetts. The very place that inspired, that fortified, and nurtured history makers like Elma Lewis, and Paul Goodnight, and Malcolm X, and Dr. King, and Melnia Cass, and Mel King, and Alfreda Harris, and Sylvia Shaw. It is in this community, at this place, that we come together to fortify ourselves for the work that we will take on together. The pursuit of justice and equality and equity, my mother reminded me, is a cradle-to-grave struggle. The pursuit of justice, the line is not a straight or linear one. It is not always consistent, but it is always worth it. So often people rewrite history and might lead you to believe that Rosa sat and Martin marched and John crossed a bridge and suddenly we had civil and voting rights and our freedom was actualized. But the truth of the matter is that the moral arc of justice bends, but only when we make it bend. And those victories, there were many miles walked, there were many quiet moments, there were many slammed doors, and there were many setbacks. So we must ready ourselves for both the breakthroughs and the joy of the struggle, and then we can realize the joy of the victory. We've made our fair share of history together, but I was not sent to Congress to just make history. You sent me there to make meaningful, lasting change. Progress on behalf of the residents of the Massachusetts 7th Congressional District, the most diverse and unequal district in our delegation, and arguably one of the most unequal in our country. I do not take on this work alone. On the days that I feel tired and weary, I will reflect upon and think of this moment. I will think about the hundreds of you in front of me and the hundreds more that each of you represent. Each of you speak for and act on behalf of those you have loved, on those you have lost and fought for and nurtured. We walk through this life not just as individuals, but as manifestations of the people who have shaped us and those who we carry with us. And so, I recommit to you today that I'm bringing all of you to Washington with me. In a world that rarely values little girls and women that look like me, it is a humbling, the most humbling and awesome responsibility of my lifetime to partner with, to lead, to usher in this change alongside you. I stand here today emboldened by each of you. In the face of adversity daily, you remain steady. You've been met with claims that you are too bold, or too aspirational, or too visionary, and yet you have not wavered. You believe in what is possible. You believe that the status quo is insufficient. And you believe in the pursuit of equity, equality, and justice. I know this to be true because when the rights of our trans family members were under attack, you organized and mobilized and fought for equality. When the rhetoric of hate tried to vilify our immigrant neighbors and to violently separate their families, you showed up at airports, offering legal representation and demanding humanity. When our union brothers and sisters were locked out of their jobs, their livelihood in the balance, you marched. When your loved one's health care was under attack, their cancer treatments, their insulin, their lives in jeopardy, you put your bodies on the line to fight for their dignity. And when survivors of gun violence, of domestic violence, of sexual violence, when our voices were silenced, you built megaphones and amplified their stories. The work we take on together will not be easy, but it will be real, and it will be worth it. I still believe in the power of us, and change is on the way.
Right here.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Nana.
Okay. All right. So now we're going to do a community pledge. Everyone, please. Some of you can remain standing. And I've invited some of our